Hidden deep in the world's rainforests, dozens of indigenous nations still weave their lives into the land, turning survival into art and daily rituals into cosmic design. From the Amazon to the cloud-soaked peaks of the Andes and the islands of Southeast Asia, their clothing, homes, and ceremonies are living maps of history and spirit. This film is a passage into their worlds, where every pattern tells a story, and every melody keeps an ancient heartbeat alive. Our story begins with the Shipibo-Konibo of the Amazon. Shipibo-Konibo, in the heart of Peru's Amazon basin, where the Ucayali River winds like a serpent through endless green, the Shipibo-Konibo people have spent centuries translating the very geometry of creation into textiles so intricate they seem to pulse with the rhythm of the universe itself. Here, among communities that dot the riverbanks like jewels scattered across emerald cloth, they have mastered the art of making the invisible visible. The women of the Shipibo-Konibo are living libraries of cosmic knowledge, their hands capable of reproducing patterns so complex that anthropologists still struggle to understand their mathematical foundations. These designs, called kene, emerge from visions received during ayahuasca ceremonies, sacred geometries that represent the fundamental structures underlying all reality. Their embroidered dresses transform simple cotton into maps of consciousness, each line and curve following rules that seem to echo the spiral patterns of galaxies, the branching networks of rivers, and the neural pathways of human thought. These are not merely decorations, but visual representations of the songs the plants sing, the melodies that govern growth, healing, and the delicate balance between worlds. Shipibo-Konibo villages along the river maintain architectural harmony with their forest environment, their raised wooden homes designed to accommodate seasonal flooding, while providing spaces for the patient textile work that can occupy months of concentrated attention. Here, mothers pass geometric wisdom to daughters through generations of careful instruction. The painted designs that adorn their ceramics and bodies follow the same cosmic patterns found in their textiles, creating a unified aesthetic vision that treats daily life as sacred art. During festivals, entire communities become living galleries where every surface carries the intricate geometries that connect human consciousness to the fundamental patterns of existence. But the modern world presses against traditional ways with increasing intensity. River commerce brings both opportunity and disruption. Young people navigate between ancient wisdom and contemporary education, between plant-teacher ceremonies and digital connectivity. Yet when dawn breaks over the Ucayali and morning mist rises from waters that reflect sky like scattered mirrors, Shipibo-Konibo women still sit with needle and thread, still translate cosmic visions into earthly beauty, still maintain their role as guardians of patterns that reveal the hidden architectures of reality. Ashaninka, through the vast rainforests that stretch across Peru and into Brazil's remote corners, where rivers carve paths through green immensity and trees reach heights that dwarf human ambition, the Ashaninka people have built their identity around the sacred geometry of the kushma, their traditional cotton tunic that transforms the human form into a walking prayer to forest spirits. The Ashaninka kushma represents more than clothing. It embodies a complete worldview woven into fabric. These long tunics, dyed with plant pigments that capture the forest's living palette, showcase geometric patterns that speak of cosmic balance and the proper relationship between human communities and the natural world that sustains them. Their woven belts serve both practical and spiritual functions, binding not just garments, but cultural identity itself around the body. The intricate patterns worked into these belts carry messages about clan identity, spiritual protection, and the wearer's place within the complex social fabric of Ashaninka society. Ashaninka villages nestle into forest clearings with architectural wisdom that demonstrates deep understanding of tropical ecology. Their traditional homes, raised on posts and topped with palm thatch, provide protection from floods and insects while maintaining the ventilation essential for comfort in humid forest conditions. The Ashaninka relationship with their forest environment extends far beyond shelter and clothing. Their extensive knowledge of medicinal plants, hunting techniques, and forest management practices represents centuries of accumulated wisdom about sustainable relationships with one of Earth's most complex ecosystems. Their oral traditions preserve historical memory that spans centuries of contact with outside forces, from Inca expansion through colonial exploitation to contemporary pressures from logging, mining, and agricultural development that threaten traditional ways of life. During traditional festivals, Ashaninka communities transform forest clearings into ceremonial grounds where the geometric patterns of their kushmas create visual rhythms that seem to echo the mathematical precision underlying forest ecosystems. Traditional dances recreate the movements of forest animals, while songs preserve linguistic traditions that carry cultural memory across generations. Yet when morning light filters through canopy layers and illuminates communities where cotton tunics add human geometry to forest patterns, the Ashaninka continue their ancient dialogue with landscapes that have shaped their civilization for countless generations. Kogi, high in Colombia's Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta, where peaks rise like ancient prayers toward tropical skies and cloud forests harbor communities that consider themselves the universe's elder brothers. The Kogi people maintain one of the Western Hemisphere's most intact indigenous civilizations. Their white robes and woven hats serving as visible symbols of spiritual authority that spans both earthly and cosmic realms. The Kogi understanding of proper dress reflects their role as spiritual guardians of universal balance. Both men and women wear white robes that signify their commitment to maintaining cosmic harmony, their fully covered forms representing not modesty, but spiritual responsibility for preserving the fundamental order that keeps the world from falling into chaos. Their distinctive conical hats, woven from palm fibers with techniques passed down through generations of master craftspeople, serve as more than head protection. These hats represent mountains in miniature, connecting wearers to the sacred peaks that the Kogi consider the heart of the world itself. Kogi villages perch on mountainsides, chosen according to spiritual geography rather than mere practical considerations. Their circular houses, built from stone and palm thatch, reflect cosmological understanding that treats architecture as sacred geometry, with every building positioned to maintain proper relationships with spiritual forces. The Kogi spiritual leaders, known as mamos, spend decades learning to read the signs that reveal the world's spiritual condition. Their training includes mastering the subtle arts of divination, healing, and the complex rituals necessary to maintain the balance that keeps natural disasters, climate disruption, and social chaos at bay. Their agricultural practices integrate spiritual ceremony with practical farming, treating every planting and harvest as ritual activity that must be performed with proper attention to cosmic timing. The Kogi consider themselves responsible for the entire planet's spiritual welfare, a responsibility that requires constant vigilance and ceremonial maintenance. During traditional ceremonies, Kogi communities gather in their thatched meeting houses where white robes create visual unity that reinforces their collective identity as guardians of universal balance. Their ritual activities include offerings, chants, and sacred dances that maintain the spiritual relationships essential for planetary survival. Yet, in the cloud forests where morning mist mingles with sacred smoke and white robes move like spirits through landscapes they consider the universe's beating heart, the Kogi continue their ancient responsibility for maintaining the cosmic balance that keeps the world alive. Wounaan. Through the dense rainforests of Colombia and Panama's Darien province, where rivers wind like silver threads through green tapestries and jungle sounds create symphonies that never cease, the Wounaan people have built communities famous for artistic traditions that transform everyday survival into celebrations of color, pattern, and the intricate beauty that emerges from patient hands working in harmony with forest rhythms. The Wounaan women are master weavers whose brightly colored dresses showcase textile traditions that rival any in the Americas for their sophistication and beauty. Their clothing displays geometric patterns worked in brilliant hues that seem to capture the forest's living energy, with designs that honor both practical needs and aesthetic ambitions. Their legendary basketry represents perhaps the finest example of this art form in all of Central America, with coiled constructions so perfectly executed they can hold water. These baskets, woven from native plant fibers and decorated with natural dyes, serve both utilitarian and ceremonial functions while demonstrating craftsmanship that requires years to master. Wounaan beadwork transforms simple glass beads into elaborate jewelry that cascades from necks and arms like frozen waterfalls of color. Their beading patterns incorporate traditional designs that speak of cultural identity while adapting to contemporary materials that allow for new expressions of ancient aesthetic principles. Their villages along jungle rivers maintain architectural harmony with forest environments, their traditional homes raised on stilts to accommodate seasonal flooding, while providing spaces for the patient artistic work that occupies much of community life. The Wounaan relationship with their forest environment extends beyond mere resource extraction to encompass sophisticated understanding of ecological relationships that support both human communities and the biodiversity essential for rainforest health. Their hunting, fishing, and gathering practices demonstrate sustainable approaches refined across generations. Their festival traditions transform jungle clearings into galleries of living art, where traditional dresses create moving displays of color and pattern, while ceremonial dances preserve cultural knowledge about forest spirits, seasonal cycles, and the proper relationships between human communities and the natural world. Yet when dawn breaks over jungle rivers and early light illuminates communities where woven dresses add human artistry to forest beauty, the Wounaan continue their ancient practice of transforming survival into art, necessity into celebration, and daily life into expressions of gratitude for the forest's endless generosity. Ngäbe-Buglé, across the mountainous borderlands where Panama meets Costa Rica, in cloud forests where morning mist creates landscapes that seem painted by dreams, and steep valleys harbor communities that have maintained their identity despite centuries of outside pressure. The Ngäbe-Buglé people continue traditions that celebrate both practical wisdom and artistic achievement through textiles that transform everyday clothing into cultural statements. The Ngäbe-Buglé women wear colorful patterned dresses that showcase weaving traditions adapted to mountain forest conditions while maintaining designs that preserve cultural identity. Their clothing combines practical considerations with artistic ambitions, creating garments that provide comfort in humid mountain conditions while displaying the geometric patterns that connect wearers to ancestral wisdom. Ngäbe-Buglé villages nestle into mountain locations chosen for both practical advantages and spiritual significance. Their traditional homes built from local materials using construction techniques that provide protection from mountain weather while maintaining harmony with forest environments. The Ngäbe-Buglé language preservation efforts maintain linguistic diversity that carries cultural knowledge about forest ecology, traditional medicine, and the spiritual beliefs that guide community life. Their oral traditions preserve historical memory that spans centuries of adaptation and resistance. Emberá. Through the dense rainforests of Colombia and Panama's Choco region, where precipitation creates some of the world's wettest environments and rivers serve as highways through green immensity, the Emberá people have adapted their traditional ways to contemporary realities while maintaining cultural practices that celebrate both artistic achievement and practical wisdom through clothing traditions that blend ancestral designs with modern materials. The contemporary Emberá wardrobe reflects successful cultural adaptation, with women wearing blouses and skirts that maintain traditional aesthetic principles while accommodating contemporary materials and changing social conditions. Their clothing demonstrates how indigenous communities can preserve cultural identity while embracing practical changes. Their decorative beadwork represents continuity with ancestral artistic traditions, transforming simple materials into elaborate jewelry that serves both aesthetic and cultural functions. These beaded ornaments carry traditional patterns that preserve cultural memory while allowing for contemporary artistic expression. Emberá villages along jungle rivers maintain architectural traditions adapted to extreme precipitation and seasonal flooding. Their elevated homes showcasing construction techniques refined across generations of tropical forest living. These structures provide practical solutions for challenging environmental conditions while maintaining social spaces essential for community life. The Emberá relationship with their rainforest environment demonstrates sophisticated ecological knowledge that supports both human communities and the biodiversity essential for one of Earth's most complex ecosystems. Their traditional practices include sustainable approaches to hunting, fishing, and forest management. Their musical traditions preserve cultural heritage through songs and instrumental performances that maintain connections to ancestral practices while allowing for contemporary adaptation. Traditional music serves both entertainment and ceremonial functions while preserving linguistic diversity essential for cultural continuity. Dayak, deep within Borneo's ancient rainforests, where rivers wind through landscapes that have witnessed the rise and fall of kingdoms, and morning mist carries whispers of headhunting traditions transformed into peaceful ceremonies. The Dayak people maintain some of Southeast Asia's most spectacular traditional costume traditions, their beadwork jackets and feathered headdresses creating visual displays that seem to channel the forest's living spirit. The Dayak traditional beadwork represents perhaps the finest example of this art form in all of Southeast Asia, with jackets and skirts that showcase geometric patterns worked in brilliant colors that capture the rainforest's vibrant energy. Their beading techniques require years to master, creating garments that serve both ceremonial and cultural functions. Their magnificent feathered headdresses transform wearers into living sculptures that honor the forest birds whose plumes create these spectacular displays. These headdresses, worn during traditional ceremonies, represent spiritual connections to the forest creatures whose beauty and power the Dayak seek to embody through ritual performance. Dayak villages along Borneo's great rivers maintain architectural traditions adapted to tropical forest conditions. Their traditional longhouses showcasing construction techniques that provide communal living spaces while maintaining harmony with rainforest environments. These structures demonstrate sophisticated understanding of tropical building requirements. The Dayak spiritual traditions integrate animist beliefs with practical forest knowledge, treating the rainforest as a living entity inhabited by spirits that require proper respect and ceremonial attention. Their traditional practices include elaborate rituals that maintain spiritual relationships essential for community welfare. Their traditional tattoo practices transform the human body into a canvas for spiritual protection and cultural identity, with designs that carry meanings related to spiritual power, social status, and connections to ancestral traditions. These tattoos serve both aesthetic and spiritual functions. During major festivals, Dayak communities transform jungle clearings into ceremonial grounds where traditional costumes create visual spectacles that seem to bring the forest's spiritual forces into human form. These celebrations preserve cultural traditions while demonstrating remarkable artistic achievement. Yet when tropical dawn illuminates longhouse communities and traditional beadwork catches early light like captured rainbows, the Dayak continue their ancient practice of creating beauty that honors both human creativity and the forest spirits that inspire their most spectacular artistic achievements. Mentawai, on the remote islands of Sumatra's western coast, where surf crashes against beaches backed by primary rainforest and isolation, has preserved one of Indonesia's most distinct indigenous cultures. The Mentawai people maintain traditional practices that adapt to contemporary influences while preserving cultural elements that demonstrate remarkable artistic and spiritual sophistication. The Mentawai festival clothing represents successful adaptation of traditional aesthetic principles to contemporary materials and social conditions. During ceremonial occasions, community members wear shirts and skirts that maintain cultural identity while accommodating practical requirements of modern island life. Their traditional body decoration practices, including elaborate tattoo traditions and teeth-sharpening customs, preserve cultural markers that distinguish Mentawai identity while adapting to contemporary social pressures that require flexibility in cultural expression. Mentawai villages on jungle-covered islands maintain architectural traditions adapted to tropical island conditions. Their traditional homes showcasing construction techniques that provide protection from monsoon weather while maintaining ventilation essential for comfort in humid coastal forests. The Mentawai spiritual traditions center around shamanic practices that treat illness and misfortune as spiritual problems requiring ceremonial intervention. Their traditional healers, known as kere, maintain knowledge of plant medicines and ritual practices essential for community health and spiritual welfare. Their traditional hunting and gathering practices demonstrate sophisticated understanding of island ecology, with sustainable approaches to resource use that maintain both human communities and the biodiversity essential for island ecosystem health. During traditional ceremonies, Mentawai communities gather in forest clearings where festival clothing creates visual displays that preserve cultural identity while allowing for contemporary adaptation. These celebrations maintain connections to ancestral practices while accommodating changing social conditions. Yet when dawn breaks over island forests and early light illuminates communities where traditional and contemporary elements blend in daily life, the Mentawai continue their adaptive approach to cultural preservation that demonstrates how island communities can maintain identity while embracing necessary change. Karen, through the mountainous borderlands where Thailand meets Myanmar, in villages nestled among jungle-covered peaks where morning mist rises like prayers and traditional ways persist despite political pressures that have scattered communities across national boundaries, the Karen people maintain textile traditions that transform practical clothing into artistic statements about cultural identity and spiritual belief. The Karen women are master weavers, whose traditional tunics and blouses showcase textile techniques refined across generations of mountain forest living. Their clothing combines practical requirements for jungle conditions with artistic ambitions that create garments of remarkable beauty and cultural significance. Their weaving traditions incorporate natural dyes extracted from forest plants, creating color palettes that seem to capture the jungle's living essence while demonstrating sophisticated understanding of plant chemistry and fiber arts. These textiles serve both practical and ceremonial functions. Karen villages in jungle clearings maintain architectural harmony with forest environments, their traditional bamboo and wood construction providing practical solutions for tropical mountain conditions while creating community spaces essential for social cohesion and cultural preservation. Yet when morning light filters through jungle canopy and illuminates villages where traditional textiles add human artistry to natural beauty, the Karen continue their patient work of maintaining cultural traditions that demonstrate remarkable resilience in the face of political uncertainty and environmental challenge. Lahu, across the remote mountain forests that stretch through Thailand, Laos, and Myanmar, where peaks pierce tropical skies and jungle-covered slopes, harbor communities that maintain traditional ways despite the political complexities that characterize this border region. The Lahu people preserve textile traditions that celebrate both practical wisdom and artistic achievement through clothing that honors cultural identity while providing protection in challenging mountain environments. The Lahu women create embroidered jackets and blouses that showcase needlework techniques refined across generations of mountain living. Their clothing demonstrates sophisticated understanding of both practical requirements for jungle conditions and aesthetic principles that transform everyday garments into expressions of cultural pride. Their traditional textiles incorporate intricate embroidered patterns that carry cultural meanings related to spiritual protection, clan identity, and connections to ancestral traditions. These designs require exceptional skill to execute, representing artistic achievements that can occupy months of concentrated work. Lahu villages perched on mountain ridges maintain architectural traditions adapted to tropical highland conditions. Their traditional homes providing protection from monsoon weather, while creating spaces for the textile work that occupies central positions in community life. Yet when dawn breaks over jungle-covered peaks and early light illuminates communities where embroidered jackets catch morning sunshine like wearable gardens, the Lahu continue their ancient practice of creating beauty that honors both human creativity and the mountain forests that have shaped their civilization. Hmong, across the remote highlands of Vietnam, Laos, and Thailand, where mist rolls through jungle mountains, the Hmong people keep alive some of Southeast Asia's most dazzling textile traditions. Their embroidered skirts and silver jewelry turn villages into living galleries of color and craft. Hmong women are famed for embroidery that transforms cloth into art, stitching geometric and floral motifs with mathematical precision and creative flair. Their silver jewelry, heavy with meaning, shines as both wealth and cultural identity, crafted by master hands. Highland villages reflect mountain life, with homes designed for protection and space to nurture generations of artistic skill. Oral traditions carry migration stories across continents, keeping memory alive through song and epic tale. Ifugao in the Cordillera Mountains of the Philippines. The Ifugao live among legendary rice terraces that rise like stairways to the sky. Their clothing and festivals honor both ancestors and the land. blending practicality with ceremonial grandeur. Festival garments, woven skirts, tops, and costumes display geometric designs that echo sacred knowledge. Weaving here is more than craft. It is a discipline that turns cloth into heritage. Their villages, perched among terraces, balance architecture with mountain landscapes, creating homes that protect and preserve community. Festivals link agriculture with culture, celebrating harvests while strengthening identity and tradition. So if these voices moved you, if these jungle cathedrals felt sacred even through a screen, then help us carry their wisdom forward. Like the video. Share it with those who've never seen how human creativity can flourish in Earth's most challenging environments. Comment with the peoples and places you want remembered. And subscribe because these stories are far from over. The jungles are still breathing. The patterns still speak of cosmic mysteries. And together, we can ensure someone is listening to the whispers of those who transformed impossible forests into homes, survival into art, and daily necessity into celebrations of beauty that honor both human creativity and the living world that sustains us all.